welcome in, welcome in. Hello, Adrienne Rae. Thank you for joining us. You are the creative director and marketing strategist for private equity firms for Hey Ray. Is that how you say it? Hey Rays?
Yep. Hey, Race.
Nice. Tell us some more about that.
Oh, well, this came out of just following my passion. I love real estate as a wealth builder. And then as I dove in, I started to learn that I love the game of real estate. It's in the commercial real estate space. If you break down the tactics, it really is a game. You acquire a property, you increase the NOI, and you refinance, trade it, whatever you do. So I love that process. I'm also a creative person. I've been in the commercial advertising space, behind the camera as a producer, and then an agent representing artists as well. And I always need like a creative outlet. So for a while I was acquiring Airbnbs, that was my creative outlet. There's always just been something that I've been doing, either like shooting my own photo shoots or something. But finding a creative space in commercial real estate is tough. It's pretty cut and dry. It's like numbers. You could get creative with your strategies to some extent, but it all has to pencil at the end of the day. So I found that I was helping a lot of my colleagues in this space with pitch decks and websites and branding to help attract capital to their deals. And I just started to run with it. I decided that I was going to quit my full-time job because I'd set myself up with real estate. And I was like, all right, by the time I'm 35, I want to be able to make a choice. Whether I stay in this industry or I go somewhere else, I just want to have the freedom to choose. And the only way I could do that was if I got myself some financial security. So real estate. So I did that. And then the business just started picking up and people just kept asking me for their help. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to dive into this. I read this book, 10X is easier than 2X. And if you're in the middle of any project and you open up that book, you're immediately like drunk on that project. You are obsessed suddenly and you will 10X it. That's what that book does to you. So I read that book and here I am pushing to 10X this company and grow it beyond the current audience it's serving. But in due time, I'm really enjoying the learning process of building a business and being in the entrepreneurial seat. So it's been a lot of fun, a lot of learning along the way. But yeah, it's been awesome.
You know what? I love that you brought up Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He's actually
he's the best.
He's actually one of my favorite authors, right? Yeah, I read
Yeah.
Who Not How, 10X using 2X.
Yeah.
One of my favorite concepts from that book is, just choosing the path, right? Just making, like, if you choose the 10X path is actually easier than 2X because there's so many different ways you can just organically, naturally just go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And I think the greatest analogy is like, okay, if I want to go to California, I can take, 100 different vehicles. If I want to go to Hawaii, there's only two ways. It's airplane or cruise, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to get there faster, you probably take the airplane, or a jet. Right. So it's just like hyper focusing on what it is that you want and then just saying no to everything else. And that there's so much power in that.
Yeah. So it's so hard to say no to everything else because right now there are so many options. There's, technology is moving so fast right now with AI, of course, but there's just so much that we're also pressured to do. Be on social media, be here, go to this conference. You have to be everywhere all the time. But if you're not clear on what your goal is and what you're aiming to create, you're going to spread yourself so thin trying to be everywhere, do everything for everyone. Instead, it's like, that sounds like an awesome opportunity for them. For me, this is where I'm going and that's it. And you stay that path until you get there. And then you could start layering in as those pieces fit into the next phase of your growth. But initially it's really tough to say no. You got to turn a lot of stuff down, but it's the way it goes. And that's how you get to 10X, really.
Yeah. 100%. I love, I'm like infatuated with all like learning, especially. So the 10X concept, or even something that Hermosi talks about where it's like, okay, going from idea to execution and closing that gap as fast as possible. I see a lot of my friends that, because you get colleagues at every level of business or wherever you're at. And usually it's the people who apply immediately are the ones who tend to go the furthest, right? Because either they're going to fail immediately or they're going to succeed. Then they're going to move on to that next concept. And I just see it as, taking all these tools and all these nuggets from different entrepreneurs and just stacking them all together, and you're just building your own mountain, right? You're building your own foundation and mountain, and you're just so much further ahead than everyone else when you're taking that 10x path, or you're implementing immediately. So that's super cool. Love that you're into reading.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed an entrepreneur like reading?
I know, right? I mean, it's become the best habit that I developed in my adult years. As a kid, I was not a reader at all. I did it because I was forced to. Even still, I read like the Cliff
Yeah,
Notes, whatever I could get my hands on whenever I was forced to
100%.
read. Yeah. But now I'm in a book club. We're called the Nerd Herd, and it's awesome. And then on top of that, I usually have two or three other books going at the same time. And I mean, I just absorb so much. It's great. Right now I'm reading Soundtracks by John Acuff. He's awesome. He's really great. So this is the second book of his that we're reading, and I do his audiobook and read at the same time. I like to do that with his books are so easy to read. You don't necessarily have to, but if it's something more dense, I really do like doing audio and reading at the same time. It just helps me absorb so much more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, reading has been like the best habit I've developed ever.
And that's a really good habit that I am like, I will fight it to the end of the earth. I will not sit down and look at it and listen. I only listen. Like that's why I have to listen to it so many times. Sometimes I'll nail it down. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then sometimes it's like, okay, it's not applicable right now. It's just not gonna work. So it's all good.
It's hard to make time, but
it is. But the gym, walking, driving, right? That's why sometimes I'll just go on a drive and just listen to a book. So very cool. So you talked about getting financial security through real estate. Is that what I heard? Oh, nice. Yeah. Speak a little more on that.
Yeah. Well, there was at one point in my life where I was kind of in a very oh shit moment, if you will. And I realized my finances were not under my control. Not like it's not like they were under somebody else's control, but I had never taken independent control of them. I was in a relationship and I thought that relationship was going somewhere, forever. And when that didn't happen, suddenly I looked around, I was like, oh shit, I really did depend on him for all my financial knowledge, all my financial security, everything. And suddenly it was just me and my giant dog trying, I was like, all right, what are we going to do? Like, how do I afford you? How do I afford our life? Like, moving into a really high cost of living city. I moved to LA. And that's when the wheels started turning. I got to figure this out. I need to become responsible for my own financial situation and learn everything that I can about how to get ahead in this, because that dream that I had, I'll figure it out one day, I'll get there someday. It was like that someday is today. And the next someday is going to show up today, as tomorrow as well. So that's when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, another phenomenal book. And that, changed everything, as it does for just about everybody who reads it. So then I started diving into other real estate books, economics, personal finance, all the podcasts around these topics. And I committed to real estate. I was like, this is going to be my asset class. This is going to be my avenue, my path. And started saving, just saving. And then when the opportunities presented itself, COVID, what a fantastic opportunity. I'm so glad I had the wherewithal to start saving at that time, because as interest rates drop, I just dove right in. I was like, perfect, now's the time. And so within 13 months, I acquired 3 properties, and on those 3 properties set up 7 different Airbnbs and built out this portfolio with my partner. And that was the start of it. And from there, that's what gave me the opportunity to think openly, see new opportunities and understand, I've got options. I don't need to stay in a 9 to 5. I don't need to work this grind every single day and build something for somebody else. I've always wondered, throughout my whole career, it's man, I'm working really hard for somebody else. I am an ethical, hardworking individual. You give me a task and I'm going to do it. But that I kind of even abuse myself in that role. I overdo it. It's when can I apply these skills and this dedication to myself? I'm making money for other people. It's time that I do this for myself. So figuring out real estate, and then having the opportunity to think about what business do I want to start now? So that's where I'm at now. driving down
Wow,
that path.
that's amazing. And I feel like you were blessed with having the knowledge to understand that when COVID happened, money was basically free. Like they were
I
printing
know.
money and you were basically borrowing money, at a lower rate than where appreciation, inflation was happening. So
Yeah.
it's amazing. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like, man, if I go back to COVID, I would have bought like 100 houses.
Oh, I wish I did more. I was like a little bit nervous, hesitant. I was trying to move fast, but also the full-time job, like now, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so ready for the next. I mean, now real estate's part of my life, but I know like I'm going to be so hyper aware when that opportunity presents itself now and like
Yeah.
really double down at that point.
Yeah, no, that's super fair because now you actually know what's going on. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. So you bought 7 Airbnbs with your partner. Did you keep growing that, or are you kind of there, just stabilizing, paying that debt down, or were you like,
Yeah. Right now we're just chilling. Probably not growing it. I now want to focus more on commercial and also passively
mm,
building this business is now my main like focus. So I feel very comfortable that retirement's taken care of. In
yep,
30 years, if I want to quit working at any point in time, so be it. I'm good. So it's like, okay, now I can just work on a project. And I want my life to be like projects and not work and a grind. It's like, what do I want to build? It's like, I want to build this business. This is fun. I want to be in an entrepreneurial seat. I want to do something creative. And it actually does really support my like overarching mission in life, which is to help other people acquire financial independence and like learn
mm,
how to grow their wealth, probably outside of mainstream, actually, definitely outside of mainstream. Investing in real estate is considered alternative asset. Investing in anything outside of the stock market is an alternative asset. So it kind of has this like tinge effect, like as it's not safe, it's alternative, it's
which
different.
that's interesting. Like I don't know why it's labeled. I mean, I can see
Wall
why,
Street.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, because Wall Street's like, hey, we want to buy them all, so we're gonna label it this
right.
way. You know
Yeah,
what I
they're the
mean?
ones investing in it, but they make it so unattainable and taboo for regular folks to invest in something other than the general stock market.
Yeah, 100%. And I see it in my industry, right? Like obviously I run a team and like I have day-to-day conversations with a lot of, your average Joe, right? Your mom and
Yeah.
pop just, working at a casino or just wherever, working a normal 9 to 5. And they don't even think that it's possible. I mean, even me when I was growing up, I was like, me buying a house, how can I do that? Like,
Yeah.
and the craziest thing, right now, I wish I knew what I know now. Like I went to the Marine Corps, right? And I had a
Mhm.
VA loan. I sat on that VA loan for freaking ever. So I went in the Marine Corps in '09. I didn't buy a house till 2020, but it's because I just didn't know. Like I was like, I didn't know that I had such a powerful tool. And I always
Yeah.
tell my veterans, I'm like, dude, you guys have one of the best wealth building tools ever
Yeah.
because it's literally 0% on your down payment
Mhm.
and closing costs are typically about 2.5%, which that can be gifted or contributed from the seller or a new builder, whatever. I mean, same thing. Like you can basically come out of pocket with nothing, like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, or maybe a few thousand max. And
Yeah.
if you just do that, and let's just say you have a 20-year plan, you do that every 4 years, you'll have 5 houses by the time it's all
Yeah.
said and done, right?
You're set. Yeah.
And the biggest challenge a lot of people have is like, okay, they just can't save the money. Well, as a veteran, you don't really need to, right? You just need to make sure that um, financially you can afford it and your credit's decent, right? You don't have a
Yeah.
crazy debt to income ratio, right? Or
And
debt,
you've
debt,
already
debt.
got you
Yeah,
got a whole source of tenants right there too.
yeah,
You're
exactly.
stationed in a certain city, other people are gonna wanna be living with you. Get a duplex, get a tri, a quad, something, rent it out to your buddies, and you're
Yeah,
set. I mean,
you
it's the
can
best.
build crazy wealth with a VA loan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's such a lack of information or education,
Mhm.
maybe even awareness around like a lot of different communities, right? Which I'm not blaming anyone. I think that it's important to go out and do your research, but still, like, there's so many people just kind of sitting on their freaking hands and not doing what they could be doing, right?
Mhm.
And buying back their time like you did, right? Or buying back your freedom. I tell everybody, I'm like, dude, yeah, for the most part, most people you're born into this work environment where you have to acquire some type of financial vehicle that is going to pay for your time to get your time back. Because once you get your time back, that's when the game really starts. Now you can start multiplying, exponentially multiplying, like whatever it is. But until you have your time back, you're trading your time for money, and that's not
Mhm.
where you want to be, right? Like, you want to trade your money for more money, right? And that's why like you're doing like your passion projects. Like
Yeah.
that's super exciting. Like
Yeah.
that's helping
And
the next person up. It's super exciting. It's I think it's super fulfilling.
yeah, and one of the concepts actually that I preach and I teach is this idea of no dead end dollars. I don't think a lot of people realize that there's an option for an alternative to when your money comes into your own possession, like you've worked a job, you got a paycheck, and now you go pay all your bills. That's a dead end dollar, and it
Mhm.
doesn't need to be like that. You can have no dead end dollars, or at least apply this concept to your life. If you can consider that you can put that dollar to work first before you use it to pay for something. And then the more layers that you stack in the middle of that, that create cash flow that can pay for the next asset and then the next asset. And then down at the end of that, then you pay for bills and whatever. That $1 has worked for you multiples of times. And when you embrace that concept, I mean, that's the recipe for building wealth. And one of my favorite tools to do that is applying the concept of infinite banking through using
Mm.
policy. So that's one way you could do it, and probably one of the most secure ways, actually. But just that general idea, just waking up to the realization, like my money's coming into my system, and and it's leaving. It's not generating anything else for me. Just chew on that for a little bit. Just start there and then start to realize, like, oh, there are other ways that I can be doing this. And I think it's just flipping the switch of realizing that there are other options out there. There are other games that people are playing. And yeah, at this moment, they may be way wealthier than you. They may be applying a lot of different rules and strategies, but the rules also apply down at the lowest level. There are concepts there that still apply. And you first have to understand that you too have a right and an opportunity to join in. You just have to be disciplined from day one. And yeah, maybe don't buy new purses or jeans, all the time. You
So
got to like rein in your spending and increase your earnings. But once you can get that down and get some discipline, there's a lot of options for growing wealth. And it really doesn't, it's not a massive sacrifice that you have to make by any means whatsoever. Money multiplies happily when you put it in the right environments.
100%. So I've definitely heard of Velocity Bank. I've heard of Inventive
Mhm.
Banking, but I don't think we've talked about it on this show yet. So I think this is gonna be a great segue. So what is Infinite Banking, Adrian?
Infinite banking is a concept. It's not a product, it's not a tool. It's a concept of how you move money through your own personal bank. So then the question is, well, how do you set up your personal bank? A lot of ways you could do that, I guess, but really there's one ideal way, one most advantageous way. Other ways come with more risks, less guarantees, or no guarantees. And whereas when you use a whole life policy through a mutually owned insurance company, this is the most secure way to practice infinite banking because you're guaranteed no losses and the wealth compounds on itself at 5+%. And at the end, you also have a death benefit. So that's awesome. I mean, there's a ton of reasons why this product is superior to, say, an index universal life or any other, or some people have even tried to do this, like, a HELOC or something like that. And that's messy.
Yeah.
A whole life policy does not have loan payment terms. So it's unstructured as well. I mean, there's just a huge list of all the benefits of a whole life policy, and why it is the best tool to do it. So that's basically where you start, is getting a whole life policy. And what happens is you you pay the base amount, which covers the death benefit. And on top of that, you have the PUA rider, and that's what builds equity. As you build up equity in your policy, you can borrow against it, at not against the Fed rate. You're borrowing against at the insurance company's rate. So they're assessing what your equity looks like and saying, yeah, I mean, and they have very little terms. As long as you have the equity in the account, it's a yes. You know, you don't have to meet any requirements or anything, and they loan you the money, and it's a carbon copy, so that money stays in the account while you're using it, deploying it elsewhere, and it is compounding interest. Right now, these are over 5% typically. So that's a pretty solid rate of return.
And is that yearly or monthly? Somebody's gonna ask. I know.
Annual,
Okay,
yeah.
annually you get 5% of your money, and it's
Yeah.
compounding in this policy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you could take a carbon copy of that value and go deploy it somewhere else through the loan that the insurance company gives you into a higher earning asset. So that's where investing in real estate passively as a limited partner in a syndication and a fund, something like that, where you can earn 10+% on that. That then allows you to earn cash flow to, one, pay back the loan, and now you've got this other asset generating cash flow for you and building your wealth. So you're still acquiring compound interest over here in your whole life policy. Meanwhile, you've got a carbon copy of the same dollars working for you over here, building wealth in a real estate asset or any other asset that's generating cash flow. So you're multiplying that dollar. And then as you pay that back into your account, you can keep paying that cash flow, build up your policy, do it again, do it again, do it infinitely. And that's the general concept of infinite banking. You're borrowing against your own cash value in a whole life policy to leverage it and deploy it into a higher earning asset to grow your wealth.
You know what I kind of want to do? Sometimes I'll do it. Let's make a very fast visual of this because I enjoy things like this. Here we go. Watch this. I'm just gonna do this. Let's go to here, and let's go here because I really want the audience to see it, and then if they have more questions, they can reach out to you, right? Can you see this?
I can see it.
Yep. Okay, very cool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go. Let's go with a box here. So this is gonna be their dollars, right? Their dollars
that they've earned from a job, a paycheck.
From a job. Okay. And then they're going to send that dollars. We're going to put an arrow here, but this dollar is going to go into a policy, right? Is that what it is?
Yep. What's a whole life policy?
Whole life policy.
With a mutual insurance company. And that part is important because you get dividends in a mutual insurance company.
Mutual insurance company.
Yeah.
Okay. Here, let's go find it. Oh, here we go. Here's a nice little arrow. Very cool. Very cool. Here, let's change the color of this though. Let's make it a little bit more bright. Okay. There you go. All right. So they make money. It goes into this, right? This earns at 5%, or let's just say 5% is
we can use 5% for now. Yeah.
Right. Which you guys are gonna do your research. I'm not a financial advisor, so don't talk to me. Talk to someone else. But this is the concept. I just want you guys to learn this. So then we go here. So then we're gonna go boom, and then boom, right? And now they're gonna put into another asset that makes a little bit more money on that money, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say we're using real estate, or let's say an Airbnb. Is that the example you wanted to use?
Yeah, we could do an Airbnb. Yeah, sure.
Let's say an Airbnb or a syndication or something of sorts, right?
Yep.
Let's just say real estate investment. Real estate investment that is earning at what percent do you think?
Well, you would want to earn higher than what the loan amount is. So you're building compound interest at plus 5%. You're also going, when you borrow against your cash value from the insurance company, they are going to charge you interest on that as well, probably around 5%. So it's not always going to be the cheapest money, but right now I think it is. And depending on, your current situation, your resources, but it's a great option to always have. So
okay, so let's just say we're going to borrow. Okay, let's just say this. We're going to say that we're going to borrow the 5% here, so they can kind of see that part too. And then I like breaking stuff like this. Okay, so they're going to borrow. Let's say we're going to borrow. We're going to borrow against policy. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Okay.
You're not taking money out of the policy, and you're not borrowing it from yourself. These can be some misconceptions with this concept. Yeah.
Borrow against it while it compounds.
Yeah.
And let's just say we're going to have 5% here. Okay, cool. And yeah, if you want me to make any changes to this graphic, you let me know and then we'll change it.
So far, this is great.
Okay, very cool. So we got that. And then we're gonna make some money here. Here we go. Okay. And then this is gonna be a real estate vehicle. Real estate vehicle of some sorts, whether it's a syndication, Airbnb, long-term rental. And we just want this number to be higher than this number, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so as long as it's higher, no matter what it is, even if it's like 7% or 10, you probably want to go for like at least 10.
Yeah.
Then basically you're already making 5% here. Here you're and that's going to keep compounding year over year at 5%. So if you had 100K here, let's put a second layer. Sorry. I'm like, I want to write it out and I want people to understand. So 100K, let's say you put 100K in this whole life policy. That's gonna compound year over year, right? And then how much of this 100K can we borrow?
Well, you can kind of depends on where you're at in your policy lifetime of it, but let's say you could borrow like up to 99% of it.
Oh, okay. So you
Not
can borrow.
recommended. Not recommended because you want to have it there because so here's the thing, it's an unstructured loan. So that means that the insurance company isn't requiring you to pay it back, which is what makes it great for a real estate investment because there's often that period where it's not cash flowing, especially if you're doing an active investment your own.
Exactly.
You're often not getting cash flow right away. It needs some time. So and the reason why it's not structured is because there's a death benefit associated with this. So if you happen to die before you pay off your loan, what they'll do is just deduct that balance from your death benefit. So that means your heirs won't be getting the full amount of the death benefit. You won't be able to have cash flow, the cash value for any other emergencies that come up. So there are a couple considerations there. You don't necessarily want to borrow out the whole thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't recommend it. Yeah. So if you have 100K in there and you borrow out 50K, which is generally the minimum of a syndication, that's a great start.
Perfect. So let's just say somebody's borrowing 50K. They're going to borrow that at 5% and they're going to put it into a vehicle that's going to bring them back 50%. So then they're going to gain at 5% here and they're going to gain 10% at here. So that's awesome. So they're making money at two phases of this equation. And then they're going to put it back here to pay that back off, right?
Yep. So you're compounding 5% of 100K. You will owe interest on 5% interest on 50K. So yes, these are the same percentages, but they're applying to different quantities. And then you are putting that into an asset that is accruing, appreciating in value and producing cash flow for you at about 10%. And real estate also has other tax favorable deductions. Hello. Didn't even get into that. So you are making money at multiple points here, even though you do have to pay a 5% simple interest, repayment back to the insurance company. You have an asset that's still accruing, compounding interest at 5% within your whole life policy, and you have this real estate asset. So
that's solid. Yeah. That same, let's just say we're using that same 100K instead of just making 5% originally. Now you're layering in, you're borrowing that you're borrowing 50K to go make an extra 10%, or actually you got to pay the 5%, but you have a 5% spread on it. That's super awesome. So you're making a greater return. So your money is working and working and working. So hope that visual helps, guys. If you guys want more questions, reach out to Adrienne. I'm sure she would help you guys. So let me stop sharing that. All right. Well, let's keep it moving.
Thanks for doing that.
100%. When I hear a concept, I'm like, okay, I think somebody might have questions about that. So I don't know. I just started doing it like the last episode. So I'm like, oh, I can do that. Let's do it.
That's right.
So if there's anything else we get into, I'm like, okay, well, let's break that down. I eventually, kind of like how Joe Rogan does his, he just kind of, all right, let's look it up. Right. Or let's break it down, so
absolutely.
Cool. So I'm curious. So it sounds like you're really good at raising capital. You're great at presenting. What got you into wanting to be a creative director?
Well, honestly, I always wanted to be a creative director. I think that's really where my heart was. And I was trying to find the way to get there. Started off in video and photography and, it eventually became the right fit. When I have the knowledge about the real estate industry, the language of investing, and I noticed that there was a gap between creating really high-end marketing materials, uh, really high-end brands that, they're raising millions of dollars, but they look like they're like a $20 brand. There's a problem there. But it's hard to find a marketing company that specializes in this industry, that understands what you do. It's hard to find it at a reasonable rate. If you go to, say, a Fiverr or an Upwork for offshore help, they often think that you're a realtor and you're not working. They don't understand the commercial real estate space or the raising capital process. So there was a big opportunity there to bridge that gap with really high-end design, having a strong creative director. I mean, I like to fancy myself as having a good eye for design, and then being able to apply my understanding of raising capital, commercial real estate strategies to the copywriting, the marketing strategies, the language that I'm using to create the verbal brand identities for these brands and then execute their marketing strategies. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I fell into this. It just felt like a natural transition. I mean, my goal was to raise capital for opportunities, and eventually that just got sidetracked because I had more fun helping other clients raise capital. So yeah.
That's fun. That's super cool. Because
Yeah.
it's interesting when you're trying to, put together syndications. There's so many different. There's like different personality types that work and flow. There's like the person who goes and finds the deal. There's a person raising the capital. There's the maintenance. These are the fixer upper guys. Like, hey, they can really. They're the value add team, right? So that's pretty cool. Are you? I know that you're in the 7-figure. Are you also in the hotel or no?
No, I'm not in the hotel. I'm in another mastermind called Raise Masters, and this is strictly for like capital raisers and operators that need to raise capital. It's another really awesome group. Yeah.
Very cool. That's so intriguing now. So are you going to, I know that you guys are kind of where you're at right now with your properties. You guys plan to go out and go get 100 more in the next couple of years, or what were you thinking? Like take on bigger projects, or just you're like, hey, I'm good with how much money I have coming in. I just want to, do projects now.
Yeah, I think I'm good with what's coming in right now in the Airbnb single family home space. I definitely want to acquire more commercial real estate. Take advantage of economies of scale. And that's always where I always knew I wanted to be a multifamily, but my partner at the time, we kind of just took on what we were capable of taking on and what we knew. And that was what we knew. And then we just kept running with it. So as much as I would love to 1031 those into other larger assets, I've got a partner to consider in a few of those properties. So right now I'm just, I'm sitting still with them and they're running great. I actually have one of our 7-figure buddies, Billy Perez, is managing one of the assets for me. Shout out to Elevate Property Management. If you're in San Diego or Arizona, they're phenomenal property managers for your Airbnbs. So everything's just running steady right now, but soon enough, I'm going to be getting into the commercial space, whether it's in boutique hotels or conversions. I really love the concept of converting a boutique hotel into multifamily, creating more housing. So yeah, I want to explore that a little bit more. There's so many different opportunities in real estate, and that's why it's such a fun space to be in. It's like, it's endless, and people come up with really creative ideas, RV parks, campgrounds, parking lots, land, like agriculture. There's so much to explore. And again, you can bounce around all over the place, learn about them, and then pick your lane. So right now I'm still just absorbing. I meet so many awesome operators, and in the role that I'm in, I end up conducting a bit of due diligence on them myself. I'm writing their pitch decks. I'm like going underneath the hood of their brands, of their company, and working on their marketing strategies. So I'm meeting awesome operators that I intend to raise capital for as well, like put my own money into their deals and bring on some friends as well that want to invest in real estate. So, I mean, there's a ton of opportunities to go after in this space. And I mean, that's why I love it so much.
Yeah, totally agree. There's a million different ways. We actually broke down a deal that I was completely unaware. I was like, oh wow, that's like really cool. It got me to the point to where I was like, okay, do I want to actually go after something like this? And it was putting together an entire community of tiny homes, like
Oh,
literally buying a big land, getting the tiny homes all built out, like literally setting an entire community up.
mhm.
And like doing the math, I was like, hold on, this is, and I don't say it was cheap by any means, but it was like, this is much more affordable than I thought it might be. So
Yeah.
it is something that I would consider. So,
Yeah,
um,
attainable. Like these
very
aren't
attainable. Yeah.
yeah, and it seems like they're just reserved for other people. Like, "Oh, I could
Mhm.
never do that." But really, if you just start learning, put yourself in the right rooms to meet people who are doing these, types of deals, you realize, "Oh, I could be doing this too," and it's not such a long shot.
Yeah. It really isn't. Another, a hot word you just said, which I know somebody's going to ask me is, what does economies of scale mean?
Oh, yes, thank you, I love this concept. Well, when you have one house and then you buy another house, you've got your resources spread between 2 different locations. I'm applying this concept to real estate, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, so you've got to focus over here, and then you've got to focus over here, and then you buy another house and you got to focus over there, and you're kind of like spread.
Yeah.
Alternatively, when you, let's say you buy a multifamily, you've got everything under one roof. That means you could send your maintenance guy to one house. You could, all of your bills are coming in from one property. You've got everything kind of condensed in this one space, more doors, one roof. So in this way, you can leverage your economies of scale. So you can scale up. I don't know what the exact definition of it would be, but in my mind, that's how I apply it. So yeah, instead of spreading yourself thin between multiple different properties, having to switch gears every time you talk about, have to look at a different property, everything is condensed in one place. And you get the benefit of putting all your energy, time, and resources into a single asset that can produce way more for you because you've got more doors under this one roof. So that's how the concept of economies of scale would be applied to real estate, and why multifamily is so financially advantageous because you get to utilize that.
Yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense. I mean, I think a easy concept is like, okay, do you want to shop at 7-Eleven or Sam's Club, right? Or Costco or
Yeah.
whatever, right? It's just going from buying one at a time to buying bulk. And usually when you
Yeah.
buy bulk, you get discount.
Yeah.
So yeah, super solid. Um, I know you talking about commercial. What in commercial interests you the most? Is it multifamily? Is it industrial? Is it what kind what kind of commercial is interesting you the most?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many cool asset classes and so many of them have
Mhm.
great benefits. I really do love multifamily. I'm most familiar with multifamily, and I do believe that people. I mean, I don't believe it's a fact. People always need to have a shelter, you know, and even during recessions, oftentimes people may need to downscale their living situation. So if they're living in a house, their next place they would probably go is into an apartment complex. So that B class range of multifamily is super solid and very recession resistant. So I love that asset class for that reason. Um, there are other really cool ones as well, like flex industrial is a cool opportunity. Smaller warehouses where individuals can go in and rent different spaces, and it's more like an open warehouse space, but
Yeah.
you can modify these areas. So that's really great. Medical buildings, that's in the commercial office space, but offices obviously aren't doing so well because of we're not in the office. Most people are remote. Those have downscaled, but
Yeah.
medical offices and bio research, those types of facilities are doing really well right now too. So there's a lot of really solid different categories within the commercial real estate space. It's just finding the one that speaks to you. You're gonna have to run the numbers and talk about it, think about it forever. So you have to like it. And then there are definitely different rules that apply to each one. So, for instance, with multifamily, that's managed by the housing department, whereas mobile home parks are managed by Parks and Recreation. They're not even under housing. So while mobile home is an awesome asset class, it's managed by a different department at the federal level, and you also have to manage it differently. Operations are totally different for mobile home parks than it is for multifamily. The way you would force appreciation for a multifamily by increasing the NOI, the strategies you implement there are going to look different than a retail space or a flex industrial type of space. So it's just knowing the nuances of each one of these asset classes, and you learn as you go. Don't sit there and try to like figure it all out on day one. Build a team, get some experts to come in and help you, get some sponsors on the deal that know what they're doing, work with somebody who's done this before, and you learn as you go. Like you can't sit there and just wait for all the information to land in your lap day one, but definitely do the research and figure out what speaks to you. What are the problems you're trying to solve, either for yourself financially or on a greater scale? Like, I want to provide more housing for people. I know we have this major housing crisis, so I want to be part of the operators and developers that are creating housing, safe, clean spaces for people. If that's what moves you, then go that route. So it really just depends for each person what they're looking for, but there's something out there for everybody.
Yeah, no, totally agree on that. That's commercial is very interesting, and that's something that I as well do want to get into, because I mean it makes more sense to get it in bulk than just kind of go one by one.
Yeah.
Because of economies of scale, right? Like that concept really hits home. Do you think that, I don't know, like going into commercial space, do you think it's more like, what do you think your mix of passion versus numbers need to make sense? Like, what's your mix there? Like, okay, I would rather be in this deal where maybe I'm making, smaller amount of money, but I love it, versus, okay, I'll make way more money, but I just have no passion here. It's not exciting to me.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you're multifamily. Would you go into an industrial if it was double the money as a multifamily?
Yeah. But here's why, because it depends on what problem you're trying to solve. Some people, the money doesn't motivate them. For, maybe you want to have a passion project where you can really sink your teeth into something and make a difference. I feel like I have that in Hey Rae's, in my marketing agency. I spend my days educating people about alternative assets and how to acquire that, how to get involved, and expand access to them. So that box is checked for me. And I also check that box in other ways of my life, other topics and areas that I'm interested in. So for me, real estate is a wealth generator. And, you have to consider your risk tolerance as well. Each of these come with their own risks. So assessing that, find the one that speaks to you. But yeah, for me, if I had a great flex industrial, why not? And yeah, I mean, it's all about having the opportunity fund as well to move on an opportunity when it's in front of you. So also why I love having that whole life policy working for me in the background, because yes, it's great for retirement. It's a death benefit for family when I'm gone, but it's also an opportunity fund. Having cash available, you can open your eyes up to see things, whereas you wouldn't notice these things if you didn't have cash sitting there. So just when the time is right, what's in front of me and what makes the most sense, and with the best operators, that's really important. I'm not going to be operating an industrial space. I'm not even going to be operating a multifamily, maybe something smaller, but I don't have the bandwidth. I'm not in that zone. So I want to be able to partner with operators that know what they're doing, that have done this. And that is such an important component of investing in any asset class, so yeah, that's a lot of factors play into that decision, but yeah.
No, you touched on some really good points. I'm like writing down notes. I'm in ChatGPT while you're talking, like my mind's running, right? So I'm just imagining what the audience is listening to. The three things I wrote down was, what were the alternative vehicles that you talk about in Hey Rae's? A commercial wealth. What's the best commercial wealth building tool? I actually ChatGPT'd it. And then what's the perfect? I don't want to say perfect team, but what's the ideal team when you're in this space? So actually, let's start there. What's that ideal team? Because you talked about operators a lot, which are super crucial. If you don't have an operator, like, you're not going to make it. So what would you say? What is there any other team members we need to have?
Well, maybe let's define operator for people that aren't familiar in this commercial space. The operator is the person who acquires the asset, who actually finds the deal. Let's use multifamily. They speak to a broker. Broker brings them an opportunity. We've got this 50-unit apartment complex here in San Diego. it's a value add, meaning it's a little run down. It was probably built in the 80s or something like that. And it has a lot of deferred maintenance. What a great opportunity, because then the operator can go in. They're the ones running the numbers. They're the ones setting up the strategy, the plan to increase the net operating income. That's the name of the game in multifamily real estate. And to do that, you have to add value. So new paint job, renovate some units, stripe the parking lot, add laundry. All of these are different levers that you can pull to increase the net operating income of a unit. Yeah, you can raise rents too, but there are other options there as well. This probably could be last resort, but it's often a first resort, quite frankly. But tighten up the expenses, the operating of this multifamily complex, and you can increase net operating income. So you need an experienced operator who knows what a lot of those initiatives cost. They need to be able to create the budget for that. They need to be able to do all the underwriting to make sure that the money that they're going to be putting into this property will in fact produce the outcome. They need to understand the market as well. What is the rent that they can and should be charging for this property? What is the market demand? Does this area, this submarket, do they want 1 bedrooms? Are they more of a studio? What's the demographic of this area? Or are there a lot of families here? What we're really looking at, we really need 2 to 3 bedroom units. Is it going to make sense to combine some of the studios to create 2 to 3 bedroom units as part of our value add initiative? All of these things are what the operator is considering. They're also creating the capital stack. That means that there's debt, there's mezzanine debt, there's the preferred equity, common equity, and if you're investing as a passive investor, you're probably either in the preferred or the common equity. So you need an operator who can put together a secure, stable capital stack of the debt and equity composition. So you want to make sure that you've got somebody who knows how to run these numbers and has great connections with loans. They can, raise the capital that's needed. So, for renovations, everything, all the money that's going to be needed to operate this property. So that comes from the operator. And this is if you're investing as a passive investor, so finding a strong operator that knows what they're doing is like paramount. The operator has his own team, though. He has his own team of other key players, like the brokers, the loan administrators, the renovation teams. Maybe it's a key sponsor that is backing this, that's mentoring them through the deal. All of those components are all really important. So, I hope that answered that. That was a lot.
No, I mean, it all makes sense to me. I'm like, okay, we should break it down. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of parts, but
there
let's put everything down, right? Because you have the operator. You have the broker who's going to give the operator the deal. The operator is going to look at the deal. Okay, let's say it's a $2 million property right now, but it's probably ARV is, I don't know, let's say it's 4 million, but they can acquire it at 2 million. Mm-hmm. Then you're looking at all the different routes of how can we increase that NOI? How can we is it a value add? Is it a total flip? Is it, are we adding units? There's so many different solutions, right? All the levers you talk about. And it's like understanding as an operator, what are the levers that I can pull here that are going to make this property more valuable, right? Mm-hmm. Which increasing rents is like an easy solution. But if it was just increasing rents, it's probably not the best deal. There's probably some other value adds that need to happen. And it's just having the frame or the lenses to see it, right? Because not everybody has a lens like, oh man, wait, I didn't know you can do that. And that's why it's important to have a good operator. And then it's, raising the capital. Okay, how much capital are we going to need to do the rehab? How much capital to just, acquire? Is the owner willing to finance it themselves, right? Just figuring out the finances. So yeah, there's so many different parts of it. That's why it's so interesting, right? It sounds scary, but I think at the end of the day, if you just read it all, you're like, oh wait, hold on, this isn't too scary. This isn't too bad, right?
No. Yeah, just ask questions. Ask a lot of questions, and get educated. Even as a limited partner, you have to be educated about who you're investing with and what the numbers look like. And there's so many resources out there for people to invest passively in these opportunities. You don't have to be the person at the helm finding deals. Like, you can keep your full-time job and you can build wealth at the same time.
Yeah, you could be the lender if you wanted to. Yeah, here you go. I'll be a lender. let me take a few points. Let me take, whatever percent you want per month. Right. Because a lot of times there's so much money in these acquisitions of acquiring beat down or rundown hotels or whatever you
Mhm.
want to call it,
Yeah.
multifamily. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough. I get called probably like 10 times a day from people looking for a deal, right? So if you have the money, that's not a problem with the money. The deals are the hardest part, I think, to find for most people, is finding the deals.
Yeah. Yeah. And it should be, because you should have very strict underwriting.
Yeah.
There's a lot that you can't really anticipate. There's a lot that you can, but you have to factor all of the possibilities and have strict underwriting. You should be sending out a lot of no's, like, no, this doesn't meet, this doesn't meet, this doesn't meet. If every deal is matching your underwriting targets, you got to reconfigure your numbers, because that's not the way it is right now. It's hard to get a deal to pencil.
100%. It's super hard to get a deal to pencil. Let's do this real quick. So while you were speaking earlier, I didn't get a chance to read it yet, but I kind of want to read it together, and then you tell me your thoughts on it.
Okay.
I I did the Here we go. No, the dollars. Okay. Here we go. What's the best commercial real estate wealth building tool? Okay, and this is what ChatGPT told me. Syndication platforms for raising capital and scaling, which you talked about. There's some tools here. Of course, there's other ways. Financial analysis and deal underwriting software. So there's like software for this. Oh, Bigger Pockets rental property calculator. What is that like? Is that free still, or there might be a small charge for that?
I think there is, yeah.
CRM and lead management systems for off-market deal and broker relations. That makes sense. Creative financing and look at that, infinite
Oh, I
baking.
love you, ChatGPT.
Shout out to infinite baking and creative financing. Using leverage to maximize your returns while keeping liquidity. Right?
Mhm.
It's OPP, or what, other people's money, or yeah, OPM. Because you found the deal, right?
Yeah.
And then asset management and NOI optimization is something else you just talked about, right? Optimize that NOI by figuring out which levers that you want to pull on, and then best wealth strategy in commercial real estate. So there's BRRRR, there's value add, seller financing and lease options, and then 1031 options. So that's interesting that it came up with those.
Yeah. That was an interesting response that it gave you. I mean, it provided all these different platforms and like resources that people can go to for the different
Yeah.
areas under that umbrella. Some of these are probably more catered towards the single family home market.
Yeah.
Others are more catered towards a commercial investment strategy. Not all of them, I think, are ideal for syndication, but
Mhm.
yeah, there's a ton of information. Should share a link to that search or something.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's literally it was just, what's the best commercial real estate wealth building tool? I'm sure everybody would probably get a similar answer.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I'll send it to you though. So that's pretty cool. I honestly, to me, I think that the best wealth building tool is to be a part of a mastermind who's actually
Oh
doing
my
it.
God.
Like that's like, if you want to talk about the fastest way forward, like the least resistance, just go get in the right room, get with
Yeah.
the right people who are doing it. If you get with the people who are doing it, then they've already done all this. So I mean, a lot of people, they like to pay, like they like to learn by paying time and figuring it out for 20 years. I like paying people who spent their time already so I can figure it
Mhm.
out faster.
Right. Yeah.
And that, the purpose of books and podcasts and whatever. Like I've been a YouTube previous member since it was YouTube Red. And it's just like, that's one of the greatest 10, or I think it's $20 now, like that I
Mhm.
spend per month, because constantly at minimum 10 to 15 hours a week, I'm going to be spending just consuming information and ideas, and
Yeah.
like, and it's just always challenging my belief system. Like,
Yep.
wait, oh, hold on. I believe this, but that sounds really good how they just put it, and it's just
Mhm.
enhancing my mind. So I've always been big on that. And then I wanted to get into hay race. I don't know how far we got into hay race. We kind of got into there, but you talked about your partner, or you talked about the different vehicles for someone to build wealth. And I
Okay.
wanted to definitely go over that before we got off. So, what are the different paths to build wealth alternatively versus instead of the traditional stock market?
Oh yeah, man, there are so many. It's basically anything other than the stock market, any other opportunity. Some of the clients that I have though within my agency, obviously real estate, and then we broke down a few of some of what those individual underneath the real estate. There's other asset classes, oil and gas, which I'm very much a hippie, so it's not my favorite asset to invest in. But I must say that oil and gas is one of the most lucrative investments when it comes to tax benefits, because you can write off 70% roughly. Do not quote me. I'm not a tax advisor. Talk to your people. I am not that. But you have like 70% of your active income, the losses of that investment against your active income. Typically, when you're investing in an alternative asset or even like a stock, you can't write off your losses against your active income. If you're investing in real estate or something, you can write that off against the losses of the asset, that of the money that you earned as it pertains to that investment. But with oil and gas, it can count against your active income, your earned income, your W-2. So that is a major benefit.
How does somebody even invest in oil and gas? I've never heard that actually.
Call me. I'll look you up. I'll send you some names. Yeah, that's the trick.
GPT. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. Yeah, you have to know people. You have to start
Yeah, it
talking to
makes
people.
sense.
But
Okay.
that's masterminds. You got to start digging and digging in. I never would have known anybody in oil and gas. And next weekend, I'm speaking on stage with a gal who's phenomenal in this space, Courtney Muller. Look her up if you want to invest in oil and gas. She's awesome.
Okay.
So yeah, as you dig, you begin to meet people, get in the right rooms. As you said about masterminds.
Nice.
Another really interesting alternative asset option to invest in is pre-settlement funding. I have a relatively newer client to my agency, and he's kind of introducing me to this concept. I didn't know it was around either. But basically, when a plaintiff is filing a case against a company, let's say FedEx rear ends them or something, or they get hit by FedEx, or something like that, and they have medical bills that they need to pay for. Well, these court cases can get dragged on forever, but you need your medical attention right then and there. You can't just wait for the case
Right.
for the case to come to some sort of close. So the pre-settlement funding provides funding to the plaintiff while the case is being pursued. And then once they win that case, that pays back the fund, which then distributes the earnings to the investors within that fund. So you are doing something great by helping a plaintiff get the care and support that they need during that time, supporting their case, and also earning like a great return, pretty high yield on that investment as well.
Wow.
So that's another option.
How do they know how do they know they're gonna win though? It's like it's one of those the lawyers are like, hey, we're 99%. Is it something like that?
Yeah, very strict case selection. It's got to meet certain parameters. They've got tight due diligence around which cases they support, because this client, for instance, of mine, they've got 100% track record of winning all of their cases that they invest in.
Yeah.
So yes, these lawyers that they're working with specialize in these injury cases. They know exactly like, oh yeah, we're going to further pursue this because we know like the outcome that we can walk away with here.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm gonna be on stage with a personal injury lawyer next week, so I might actually ask her. I'm like, hey, do you know anything about this?
Yeah. Well, even another angle to that within this industry, which is also blows my mind, marketing for personal injury lawyers. Or other, not necessarily just personal injury, but maybe it's divorce, or when you are driving down the highway and you see their billboards, money had to buy that billboard.
Yeah.
And they can calculate the exact return that they're going to make on an investment in a billboard or in out-of-home advertising spaces that they purchase, like sides of buses, billboards, things like that are considered out of home. So when they invest in those advertising vehicles, they know what the return on that is going to be. So there are funds that will support a lawyer to market themselves because they'll be able to calculate what those returns will be. And that's another investment opportunity as well.
Yeah. My mind goes straight to, how about I just create you a landing page and I'll just drive traffic to the landing page for you. And then you'll know exactly how many people go through the portal.
Yeah. I mean, you've got that too. I mean, there's so many options. And not to say like word of advice to listeners, just because you hear something doesn't mean that it's the right investment for you. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean that it's being operated the right, you have to do a lot of due diligence and research on these opportunities. There are scams, like a ton of them. Everybody wants you to invest in something. So you have to be very diligent about what path you go down, who you're listening to, who you're getting advice from. Oh my gosh, that is a massive topic. Like knowing who you're getting advice from, like what are their values? Where are they getting their information from? What's the road that they've been down? Everybody projects their advice or information through their own individual lens. And if that is just not in alignment with you, then that's not the person that you should be taking advice from. Let me give you an example. I was listening to a podcast about whole life. It's a life insurance based podcast. This is how I enjoy myself. I consider this fun. And the host had this guest on who was basically who was bashing whole life, saying this is not a good asset. Why do people, he didn't like it. And
Okay.
so we brought him on to have this like very wholesome debate, and it was a great conversation. But right away, this guy is providing financial advice to his clients and deterring them from a whole life policy.
Yeah.
He admits right away that, I really don't know too much about it, but what I know, I don't like it. And it's like, okay, how can you give a really good, honest judgment of this asset class to your audience? And then he went on to say that he gets his financial information from Fox News, CNBC, like these mainstream media outlets that push propaganda and have agendas. And this is where he's getting his financial information from, and then taking that and sharing it with his clients when they view him as a trusted source of legitimate, honest information. Immediately, I was like, why would oh my gosh, these people probably don't even know that they're just getting regurgitated mainstream media financial advice from this guy. Like that's detrimental to somebody's.
I have an idea of who I would debate about real estate.
Yeah.
Who sounds just like this guy you're talking about.
Bring
But
him
it's
on. Do
but
it.
it's a different, yeah, I'd love to bring him on because he has like
Yeah.
a couple 100,000 followers, and I'm like, and they're all bought into the fear modeling and all this.
Yeah.
Right? Like he
Yeah.
talks about Vegas. He's not even in Vegas. He talked about we're gonna have a crash. He talked about this 2 years ago. Actually, he talked about a crash the last 4 or 5 years. Last year, he was like, "Oh, for sure they're gonna crash," and we went up 9% year over year in a high interest market. I'm like, okay, like this guy's just regurgitating,
yeah,
public news, yeah,
yeah, and real estate operates in cycles, so eventually he's going to be right,
yeah,
and eventually, like anybody's going to be right eventually if you hang on
cool,
to the crash is coming. Yeah, eventually the crash is going to come. Like something has to crash.
yeah,
It's how economy is created actually to do that. So yeah, it's incredibly important that you know where your advice is coming from and if it's a trusted source and if they align with your values, what their end goal may be. So it may not be what your end goal is. So the advice that, through the lens that they see opportunities and what's good, what's bad, what's risky, what's not, they're aiming for something different than what you're aiming for. So, be so crystal clear on what you want out of life and how you want to get there. And just make sure that the person that you are talking to, like taking their advice from, is aligned with that. That's
100%. And it's important that they do the math, right? If they're not even doing the math, I mean, there's a lot of ignorance around that. If they're not willing to do the math or at least just do due diligence, we're kind of wasting our time here, dude.
Yeah. Yep. And you're gonna get what you got at that point. So
Exactly.
if you want to actually be successful in growing your wealth and building a financial a warehouse of wealth, to pass down to generations and have opportunities as they come to you in life, you have to be willing to put in the work to learn. People who are in that position, they didn't get there by, maybe some of them got some dumb luck, but the people that you don't maybe hear about on Instagram and on social media, there are plenty of people out there living these wonderful, full, rich lives that have a financial foundation that gives them this opportunity to pick up and go as they choose, switch careers as they choose. And that's how life should be lived. And, like having options and moving as you see fit. Like And you can only do that when you have a strong financial foundation. And, that's, you have to learn every step of the way, constantly learning, constantly evolving, and being humble about where you're at in your financial journey. There is a concept in the whole life community called the arrival syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And this is people who feel like they've already arrived, like they know the best option. They already know the things. And it's like that person, no matter how badly they want to increase their wealth, they're not going to get there if they can't admit and reduce their ego and admit that maybe I don't know all the ways, and have an open mind about other possibilities that are out there. Just learn. You don't need to accept all of them, but just be open to learning.
Yeah, 100%. You just got to be open to it. Somebody was sharing with me, they do like Bitcoin trading or something. Like I'm not into
Mhm.
that, but he showed me where he did like a short trade or something, whatever you call it. Dude, he did like a 30-second trade and he made like 75K. Like, and because he bet that the stock was gonna go down
Mhm.
over the next 30 seconds. And I was like, what the heck? Right? Because I think he put in like 350K. Like he sent me a screenshot. I was like, I have no idea what this means. So I dropped it in the chat GPT, of course. And I was like, what? Is this real? You can short? Because it doesn't make sense to me. I guess like intellectually, why would you get paid because you bet on a stock to go down? Like where does that money, like where is that money created from? Right? And
Yeah.
that didn't make sense to me. So it's something I definitely want to research more. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different concepts and ways to make money. You just have to open your mind, because once you understand the game, then life becomes really fun. And something I think about is the Ritz, right? The Ritz is probably one of the more high end hotels, and
Mhm.
the Ritz tends to be 85% and up on occupancy level.
Mhm.
So just imagine how many people are out there, because you don't see all those people on social. Like what
Right.
is it that they're doing? Like how do they grow the wealth, and how does it continue to keep growing? And it's through like vehicles like what you talked about, infinite banking, right?
Yeah.
In our example earlier, we just talked about it growing at 5% per year. But if you actually compounded it, just if you're viewing it, right? If you're just a viewer there, just imagine you have 100K and just compound it at 5%. See where that money's at in 20 years, right?
Mhm.
And that's with saying you're not putting any extra in, but typically you're going to be adding every single month, or you're going to contribute into that very frequently. But just see what your money's at, just without even doing that second layer
Yeah.
of investment, through syndication. Just the infinite banking by itself, just see where your money's going to be at in 20 years, in 30 years. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And
That's just one
also,
vehicle.
but here's the thing, don't compare that to the stock market. People love to compare whole life policies to the stock market. Why would I get 5% when I could get, like, the S&P 500 has done 10% on, average? It's like, okay, first of all, whole life isn't an investment vehicle, it's a savings vehicle where you can
Mhm.
build your wealth that comes with with a lovely 5% interest. But the stock market, you're viewing this 10% return, what they say for the S&P 500. If you have 100% of your funds invested in that, then you could earn, on average, over the course of a 30-year span, on average, the S&P 500 has done about 8 to 10%, let's say. But where in that average of 30 years are you experiencing when you need to withdraw money, when you need to borrow against it? Because that's where it really matters. That's where the
Yep.
volatility kicks in. There's no volatility in a whole life policy. You never lose money. So if you're relying on your 10% S&P 500 account for retirement, well, when it comes time for you to withdraw money and the market is down, you are putting a huge detrimental hit on what you could have been compounding on. So complementing something like that with the whole life policy as a volatility buffer where there is no risk of loss, you only compound upward. That's a huge benefit
Yeah.
to complement your whole retirement strategy. So it's definitely not an either or one's better than the other. I have my own opinion, of course, but to each their own. And it's not. I just hate when people compare the two, because you're using the statistic that relies on you having 100% of your money in that S&P 500 in order to earn that 10%, but you're also forgetting tax, the capital gains tax, so many other fees that are built into that. But then also, how are you managing your risk against that? You should probably be diversified with stocks and bonds.
Yeah.
So now you've only got 70, maybe 60% of your money earning that 10% over the course of 30 years. The numbers look a lot different when you really break it down to what you can actually earn. So, don't just assume one thing just because there's like a catchphrase or like some little soundbite that's floating around the internet. Really dig in.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have something a little bit more liquid, right? Like I like more reoccurring revenue models, right? Like
Yep.
real estate, right? I mean,
Yep.
just you're getting appreciation from the property itself, but also you're getting monthly income from
Yeah.
that, and that's
Yeah.
super important, right? Which
Yep.
you're not going to get monthly dividends from stocks. I mean, maybe I don't know, maybe there is
Some
a
of
way,
them.
but I don't think so. Like you're not going to get it every single month, and not at the rate that you get into real estate.
Yeah.
But I mean, to each your own, right? So very
Yeah.
cool. Well, I feel like we really dived into a lot of different things. We could have probably went an hour on just
I
books,
know.
probably went an hour on just different concepts, or even just breaking down deals. So very awesome. I appreciate you being on here. Hopefully we can
Absolutely.
have you back again and we can see where you're at, with your career. So super excited. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Rich. That was fun.
Of course. If anybody wants to find you, where should they go?
Oh, okay. You can find me on Instagram, Adrienne.Rae, or on LinkedIn. I'm actually more active on LinkedIn, ADRIANRAE. You can find me on
All right.
LinkedIn.
So go to LinkedIn, guys, and we'll see you guys on the next one.